So let's move forward here to another critically important issue. That's the ongoing criminalization happening of students all across the United States for their participation in, very legal protest actions against the genocide in Palestine. And we are very, very honored to be joined here by Salma Hamamy, who is a recent graduate of the University of Michigan. While there, she was president of the Students for Justice in Palestine chapter, among other students now being criminalized for just doing the right thing. I guess I'm editorializing, but I think I can say that. Salma, thanks so much for being here with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, great to have you here. And before we get into what's happening to you all now, the actions that have been taken against you, I really just wanted to start a little bit with the encampment that took place at U of M when you were there, and why it was important for you and other students to come out and be a part of this movement that was sweeping campuses all across the United States.
Yeah, so one of the most beautiful, prominent, and powerful aspects of these encampments and of the popular universities for Gaza is that it drew attention to the fact that Palestine has become an international language. It has produced a language of liberation that transcends boundaries and political borders and has shown that the Palestinian liberation movement is producing the knowledge necessary for the world we hope to build. And our encampments and our protests shattered the confines of what they thought being pro-Palestinian meant. It undid the threads of the imperial fabric that they have been using to suffocate us for so long. It retold the stories that they tried to lie about. They hated seeing the physical and unwavering display of a movement dedicated to Palestinian liberation. And they hated seeing the unity that was brought forth within these encampments. They hated seeing the Jum'ah prayers in one corner of our encampment while Shabbat and Christian services took place in the corner right across from it. They hated seeing the community that was fostered through our encampment on the basis of us standing there for Gaza, and they hated seeing our educational teachings and daily programming and disruptions. And the protests and these encampments embodied the strength of the student movement. It was important for us to not only do everything within our power to demonstrate, but to also, continuously remind ourselves that we are the number one funders of this genocide through our university endowment and through our tax dollars. And so we had a responsibility to camp out. We had a responsibility to plant our feet firm, and we had a responsibility to disrupt the status quo. And that is what these encampments embodied. And one of the pivotal reasons as to why the Palestinian movement and these actions were so critical.
I mean, yeah, it's really, really important that you and other students around the country took it upon yourselves to create these encampments in the first place. But of course, there's been repercussions for that. So with these charges, can you explain to us what are the actual charges and how does it feel to see these statements, which must be quite scary, I would imagine, by the Attorney General, essentially suggesting that pro-Palestine protests were violent or somehow some kind of safety threat?
Yeah, so the criminal charges at the state level ordered by Attorney General are an unprecedented escalation against the movement for divestment. 11 of us are currently facing a mix of felony charges and misdemeanor charges ranging from trespassing to obstruction and so forth. And the Attorney General press release indicates that the cases were initially taken due to their multi-jurisdictional nature, but none of the charges issued implicated more than a single jurisdiction. And this overreach is entirely political and designed to punish and suppress voices protesting genocide. And her rhetoric of our encampment being violent or a safety threat is entirely a lie. The Gaza Solidarity Encampment was established to demand divestment from apartheid and genocide. It stood there for 30 days strong until our university police department was directed to attack campers and to destroy the encampment. And the administration used these claims of fire safety as justification to brutally and violently sweep the camp. And there is a very bitter irony in the fact that U of M claims concerns about fire safety intents while refusing to divest their endowment dollars from being used to aid the bombing and burning of people in literal tents in refugee camps in Gaza. And the morning of the raid, UMPD, which is our university police department, dressed in riot gear, armed with batons and deep freeze, which is known as a chemical agent with the highest grade possible for a mix of both pepper spray and tear gas, attacked the encampment, sending 4 people to the hospital with concussions, broken arms, respiratory diseases. They destroyed thousands of dollars worth of equipment and personal belongings. And the notion that the students and those protesting the genocide were somehow violent is entirely a projection of their own actions and the politicization of these charges, and ultimately in their attempt to trying to suppress the movement. And, my initial reaction when seeing the press release and the statement, I couldn't help but laugh. This is not a testament to our inability to succeed, but rather it's a testament to their inability to suppress us. And the fact that they had to fill their press release and interviews with countless lies and notions of violence only made us feel far more united in our movement, because we know that we are on the right side of history, and that this form of suppression will ultimately only breed more resistance.
Mm-hmm. I saw Representative Rashida Tlaib make an interesting point in relation to this, and she noted that the Attorney General has so far failed to deliver any real justice for the victims of the Flint water crisis, but is aggressively going after you all for, just protesting against a genocide. And I just wonder, thinking about that backdrop, if it feels that some element, at least, of these charges is rooted in the sort of racism and Islamophobia in certainly the Michigan, but also the U.S. justice system.
Yeah, these charges absolutely reflect elements of racism and Islamophobia within the state of Michigan. And it's just evidently clear because Nessel should instead be focusing on delivering justice for the victims of Rick Snyder's Flint water crisis, which poisoned thousands, and she ultimately failed to do so. And instead, she's choosing to go after protesters of conscience who cannot sit by and watch their tax money or their university endowment and public institution money contribute to the genocide. But again, the fact that the state attorney general feels compelled enough to charge student protesters, it is a testament to their fear for the movement of how we are, steadfast in our commitment towards Palestinian liberation. And the entire situation that has taken place on campus is one that is filled with anti-Palestinian racism, Islamophobic rhetoric, because our university administration continues to push us in this narrative as though we are uncivilized. They have referenced our actions as uncivilized, as an unpopular, dissentful movement. But in reality, the sheer amount of supporters and the sheer amount of strength that we have built on our campus through our coalition at the student level, at the student government level, at the faculty level, at the alumni level, all of whom in the majority have supported the call for divestment, have supported Palestinian liberation, Palestinian freedom. Yet the administration is more so interested in maintaining their investments and hedge fund within our university, as opposed to actually tackling on the true issues that we bring forth.
As this new year starts, I'm curious, what message do you have for other students who are just coming into campus this fall, who are outraged by the genocide, but also they see what happens at a place like University of Michigan and then other college campuses around the country where there's repressive measures like this, and then they're wondering whether they should even be exercising their legal right to protest?
Well, I would hope that at every moment of repression, it only ignites people to take action even further. I would hate for anyone to use my example of facing charges as a mean to not take action. The sacrifices of our people do not perish in vain. We do not do this only for people to react and hide, but rather to react and take action. And the suppression that we're seeing at these unprecedented rates, again, it's not a inability of us to exercise our power, our political commitment and power to the Palestinian people. But again, it's rather a sign of their desperation, not a sign of our futility. And your silence ultimately will never protect you, nor will it protect the Gazan people. only actions and uprisings will grant us and our future generations safety. So we call on the Attorney General, Dana Nessel, to drop the politicized charges immediately. We demand that President Santaono and the Board of Regents and their campaign of violence and intimidation against students, university workers, and community members end immediately. And we also, at the end of the day, refuse to cower to carceral intimidation. We refuse to back down in solidarity with the Palestinian people. And we will remain resolute in our commitment to the struggle for Palestinian liberation, demanding divestment from weapons manufacturers and our university's complicity in the genocide against the Palestinian people. So I hope what people take from this and take from the student intifada and the student encampments is that there is no amount of repression or sacrifice that could ever be great enough to put you into a corner and to prevent you from taking action. We are the number one funders of this genocide. We are indebted to the Palestinian people as we live in the heart of the empire, in the belly of the beast of Turtle Island. We are absolutely indebted. And I hope that people take these examples and instead use it as a form of action and not as a form of suppression and silence. This is the best time for us to unite and to push further and to call for a liberated Palestine, to call for divestment, and to call for an arms embargo as well.
Well, Salma, really appreciate you joining us here on the show. I know you probably have a lot going on, so thanks for some of your time here in the Freedom Side.
Thank you.